In our second video for the administration topic, we're going to look at the provinces of the Roman Empire. So the key questions you need to answer are, number 1, what were the two types of provinces? Number 2, how did Augustus bring stability to the provinces? And number 3, what changes were made to taxation and why? So now we'll just have a look through the different types of provinces. So the provinces of Rome, or the parts of Rome, that Rome controlled that was outside Italy, were divided into senatorial and imperial provinces. So imperial provinces were governed by a legatus, who had been selected specifically by Augustus as his representative, and they were handsomely rewarded for their loyalty and service. They held the bulk of the armies, as they were strategically located for the defence of the empire. The senatorial provinces were unarmed, they didn't have armies in them, and they were run by governors, as they always had been. And overriding all this, remember, Augustus's proconsular imperium maius allowed him to interfere in any province, imperial or senatorial, should he need to. So here's just a quick map to have a look at. So the red provinces are the imperial ones that Augustus controlled in the edges and the more volatile parts of the empire, and the senatorial provinces are the blue ones. So they had been under Roman control for a much longer period of time. And through his reforms in the provinces, Augustus was able to increase the stability of these provinces and make them a lot more peaceful. So in the Republic, governors only served for a year at a time, but under Augustus this was sometimes extended to bring further stability. Corruption also decreased because the governors were able to legally earn generous allowances while still remaining honest. So their position rested on Augustus's favour, so they needed to maintain this by avoiding complaints from the provincials. So because they were now accountable to someone, there was not so much kind of corruption and extortion going on in the provinces. Colonies were also created to both to provide further homes for veterans and to Romanise the provinces. People who had finished serving in the army would be spread out across the empire, so there would be a presence of former Roman soldiers to keep the peace, and also to reward those soldiers for their service. Provincial councils were created, and these gave the locals a role in the running of their countries, so that they could vote and express their opinions. As well as this, there were also some changes made to taxation, and it was made more fair on the whole. So Agrippa carried out a census of the whole empire, meaning that taxes were now charged according to the ability of the provincials to pay them. As before, the equestrians gathered taxes, but similar to the provincial governors, their position depended on Augustus's favour, so they couldn't be corrupt. And so these equestrians also managed Augustus's estates out in the provinces. There was also the same treasury which paid for both senatorial and imperial provinces. So all the funds were coming from the same place. And if necessary, Augustus supplemented this out of his own wealth. So he was very rich because of the money he'd got from Egypt and his other provinces, and also his inheritance. So everything was sort of directly accountable to him. Alright, I think that's about it. So make sure you've got notes on the two types of provinces, how stability was brought to the provinces by Augustus, and what changes were made to taxation and why. If you have any problems or questions, make a note of them and we'll discuss them in class.